Somewhere along the way, you decided you would never need anyone. Not loudly. Not as a declaration. It happened quietly, in the accumulation of moments where asking for help led to disappointment. Where depending on someone meant getting hurt. Where the person who was supposed to show up did not. And the only conclusion that made sense, the only response that felt safe, was to become someone who handles everything alone. You became capable. Impressively so. You solve your own problems. You carry your own weight. You ask for nothing. You figure it out. And when someone offers help, something in you tightens and says, "No, it is fine, I have got it." From the outside, this looks like strength. And for a long time, it felt like strength to you too. But there is a version of self-sufficiency that is not strength. It is armor. And the difference matters enormously, because armor that was built for a war that is already over does not protect you anymore. It just keeps everyone out. Hyper-independence is not a personality trait. It is a trauma response. That sentence stops a lot of people. Because the word trauma brings to mind dramatic events, abuse, disaster, loss. And for many hyper-independent people, there was no single event. There was just a slow, repeated experience of learning that other people were not reliable sources of support. Maybe the parent who was physically present but emotionally unavailable. The one who provided for all the practical needs but had no language for feelings, no capacity for the kind of presence a child actually needs. So you learned to need less. To not bring things to them. To figure it out yourself because bringing it to them either produced nothing or produced something worse than nothing. Maybe it was a parent who was inconsistent. Sometimes there, sometimes not, sometimes warm, sometimes frightening. And the unpredictability trained you to stop anticipating support, because anticipating something that does not reliably arrive hurts more than not anticipating it at all. Maybe it was smaller than that. A household where vulnerability was mocked, even gently. Where needing things was read as weakness. Where the family culture said, "Handle it, do not complain, do not burden others." No one meant to create a child who could not ask for help. But they did. The nervous system learns from repetition. And what it learned, in whatever form the lesson arrived, was this: needing people is dangerous. Depending on anyone creates exposure. Exposure leads to disappointment or abandonment or ridicule or simply nothing. And nothing, when you needed something, is its own kind of wound. So the nervous system built a solution. Become the one who does not need. Become so capable, so self-contained, so sufficient that the vulnerability of dependence is never a risk again. It worked. That is the painful part. It genuinely worked, for a time, in the environment where it was built. Psychologists who study attachment describe hyper-independence as a feature of the avoidant attachment style. And understanding attachment is essential to understanding why this pattern runs so deep. John Bowlby, the British psychiatrist who developed attachment theory, argued that human beings are biologically wired to seek closeness with others when they are distressed. This is not a preference. It is a survival mechanism. The infant who cries and is consistently soothed learns that the world is responsive, that other people can be trusted to show up, that expressing a need leads to that need being met. This becomes the foundation of secure attachment. The internal working model that says, "I can need things and it will be okay." The child whose bids for connection are consistently ignored, dismissed, or met with irritation learns something different. They learn that expressing need does not reliably produce support. And so they learn to suppress the attachment system itself. To stop signaling. To stop wanting. To become, in behavioral terms, extremely self-reliant. Mary Ainsworth, whose strange situation experiments in the 1970s became foundational in developmental psychology, documented this pattern clearly. The avoidantly attached child, when separated from the caregiver and then reunited, did not run to them. Did not show distress at the reunion. From the outside looked independent, even indifferent. But physiological measures told a completely different story. The heart rate, the cortisol levels, the child was experiencing significant internal distress. They had simply learned to stop showing it. That child, decades later, is the adult who says they are fine when they are not. Who does not call anyone when something is wrong. Who lies awake at 3 a.m. managing everything alone because asking for help feels more frightening than carrying the weight indefinitely. There is a specific way hyper-independence shows up in adult life that is worth examining closely. Because it is not just about refusing help. It goes deeper than that. The hyper-independent person often has enormous difficulty identifying their own needs in the first place. Suppressing the expression of needs, over years and decades, gradually suppresses the awareness of needs. You get so good at not needing that you lose touch with what you actually want. With what would feel good. With what you need from another person to feel genuinely close to them. This creates a particular kind of loneliness that is hard to name. You are surrounded by people. You function well in relationships at a surface level. You are reliable, low maintenance, never a burden. But there is a glass wall. A layer of managed distance that never quite lifts. Even in the relationships that matter most, there is a part of you that is always slightly separate, always watching, always making sure nothing is revealed that could not be taken back. The intimacy that comes from genuine mutual vulnerability, the kind where both people have actually been seen in their difficulty and stayed, that kind of intimacy is structurally unavailable to someone who cannot be vulnerable. Not because they do not want it. Because the nervous system will not allow it. Because every movement toward genuine openness trips the alarm that was installed when openness last led to pain. Hyperindependence also has a relationship with control that is worth understanding. When you cannot trust other people to be reliable, you compensate by controlling everything you can. The planning, the execution, the outcomes. All of it gets managed personally because delegation feels like exposure to someone else's potential failure. And someone else's failure, in this operating system, means you are left holding the consequences of having trusted. This is why hyper-independent people are often extraordinarily competent. They have had to be. The same pattern that makes intimacy difficult makes professional performance exceptional. You work harder than everyone around you not because you are more ambitious, but because working hard and handling everything yourself is the behavior that feels safest. The one domain where the strategy that was built for survival actually produces results that look, from the outside, like thriving. But competence built on the foundation of never needing anyone is exhausting in a way that competence built on security is not. Because it is not just effort. It is vigilance. The constant, low-grade monitoring required to make sure nothing slips, nothing is left to someone else, nothing requires you to be in the position of depending on a person who might let you down. That vigilance is tiring. And it accumulates. The hyper-independent person who presents as the most capable person in any room is often the most exhausted person in any room. Carrying everything. Admitting nothing. Managing the appearance of someone who has it together so completely that no one thinks to ask if they are okay. And when someone does ask, when someone actually sees through the management and asks how you really are, the response is rarely honest. Because honest requires a kind of trust that the nervous system still does not know how to make safe. There is a particular relationship pattern the hyper-independent person tends to fall into. And it tends to repeat. Because the hyper-independent person cannot easily receive care, they are drawn to dynamics where their role is clearly the capable one. The helper, not the helped. The strong one, not the vulnerable one. The one who holds others together, not the one who is held. This feels natural, familiar, comfortable in the way that only deeply ingrained patterns can feel comfortable. But it recreates the original wound. The dynamic where your own needs are invisible. Where showing up for others is safe but being shown up for is not. Where love is something you give but cannot fully receive. And when someone genuinely tries to show up for you, when a partner or a friend pushes past the managed self-sufficiency to offer something real, it often produces not gratitude but discomfort. A pulling away. A sudden need to reassert independence. Because the part of the nervous system that was trained by early experience hears closeness as a precursor to disappointment, hears someone wanting to help as a situation that will eventually reveal that depending on them was a mistake. This is how hyperindependence damages not just the individual but every relationship they inhabit. The people around them gradually learn not to offer. Learn that the offer will be declined. Learn that this person does not need anything, is fine, handles everything. And the hyper-independent person looks around and sees exactly what their nervous system predicted. People who are not showing up for them. And the original conclusion, that depending on others is not safe, gets reinforced one more time. The path out of hyper-independence is not deciding to be more vulnerable. It is not a choice made with a conscious mind. The pattern lives in the nervous system, and the nervous system does not update through intention. It updates through experience. What actually changes the architecture of avoidant attachment is what researchers call a corrective emotional experience. A relationship, therapeutic, romantic, or friendship, in which the risk of vulnerability is taken, however small, and the anticipated disaster does not arrive. In which someone sees a real piece of you and does not leave. Does not use it against you. Does not disappoint. Does not confirm what the original wound taught. This has to happen repeatedly. The nervous system does not revise a pattern on the basis of a single data point. But with enough repetitions of safety, with enough experiences of expressing a need and having it met, of showing difficulty and being held rather than abandoned, the internal working model begins to shift. Slowly, unevenly, with many setbacks, but genuinely. The first step, though, is noticing the pattern for what it is. Not strength, not independence. A strategy. A brilliant, functional, costly strategy built by a version of you that needed it and built the best thing available with what they had. That version of you deserves enormous compassion. They were doing the only thing that made sense at the time. But you are not in that time anymore. And the armor that kept you safe then is the same armor that is keeping everyone out now. Real strength is not needing nobody. Real strength is knowing who you can need. Building the capacity to let someone in, slowly, with appropriate discernment, not naively, not with everyone, but with the people who have shown, through consistency and care, that they are safe to trust. Real strength is being able to say this is hard without immediately following it with, but I am fine. Real strength is letting yourself be held sometimes. Not because you cannot hold yourself, but because you do not have to. You were never supposed to do all of this alone.